Have you ever had this moment? It's late at night. You're tired, but your mind won't slow down. You open your phone, not to scroll mindlessly, but because your brain is buzzing with ideas. You're watching a video about psychology. Then suddenly, you're reading about starting a business. Then design. Then philosophy. Then fitness. Then maybe a new career path. And at some point, a strange feeling creeps in. Not excitement, but pressure. A quiet, uncomfortable tension in your chest. You think, why am I like this? Why can't I just pick one thing and be satisfied? Why do I feel anxious even though I'm curious, motivated, and interested in life? Here's the misconception most people grow up with. Having many interests is a gift. It means you're curious, intelligent, creative. And that's true. But it's not the whole truth. Because what no one talks about is how having too many interests can quietly, almost invisibly, create anxiety. Not panic attacks, not obvious stress, but a background hum of unease, a sense that you're always behind, always choosing wrong, always leaving something important unfinished. In this video, I want to offer you a new perspective, not how to focus harder, not how to be more disciplined, and definitely not how to just pick one thing and commit. Instead, we're going to look at what's actually happening in your brain, why your anxiety isn't a personal failure, and how to work with a multi-interest mind instead of fighting it. If you've ever felt torn between passions, if you feel overstimulated by possibility, if your curiosity somehow turns into anxiety, this video is for you. Take a breath. You're not broken. Let's start with a reframe. If you have many interests, your anxiety is not coming from a lack of focus. It's coming from excess cognitive load. Think of your mind like a browser. Most people keep 5 to 10 tabs open. You have 37. And none of them are junk. Every tab feels meaningful, important, potentially life-changing. Psychology, career paths, creative projects, relationships, self-improvement frameworks, future versions of yourself. Now here's the key insight. Your anxiety doesn't come from indecision. It comes from caring deeply about too many possible selves at once. Every interest represents a possible life, and your brain is constantly asking, what if I choose wrong? What if this was the path I was supposed to take? What if I'm wasting my potential? That's not laziness. That's existential pressure. Mechanism number 1, the burden of possibility. There's a psychological concept called the paradox of choice. When we have too many good options, we don't feel free. We feel overwhelmed because every choice carries loss. Choosing one interest means not choosing another. And if you're someone who feels deeply, thinks long-term, imagines future consequences vividly, then every decision feels heavy. Your mind isn't asking, what do I want right now? It's asking, which version of me am I killing off if I choose this? That's a lot for a nervous system to carry. Mechanism number 2, identity diffusion. Many people with multiple interests don't struggle with motivation. They struggle with identity clarity. You might secretly think, I don't really know who I am, not because you lack depth, but because you have too much of it. You can imagine yourself as a creator, a thinker, a leader, a helper, a specialist, a generalist, and instead of feeling expansive, it feels destabilizing. Psychologists call this identity diffusion, not in a pathological sense, but as a state where your identity feels fluid and unresolved. And the brain doesn't love unresolved states. Uncertainty triggers the same neural circuits as threat. So even though your interests are positive, your nervous system treats them like danger signals. Mechanism number 3, mental simulation. Overload. Your brain is incredible at imagining futures. That's a gift. But it comes with a cost. When you think about your interests, your brain doesn't just list them. It simulates them. It runs mini movies. If I pursue this, then my life looks like this. If I don't, I might regret it forever. If I wait too long, the window might close. This constant simulation activates the default mode network, the same system involved in rumination and anxiety. So your mind is working overtime, even when you're resting. You're not relaxing. You're running parallel life timelines. No wonder you feel tired. Here's why this anxiety is so confusing. It doesn't look like anxiety. You might be curious, energetic, intelligent, functioning well on the outside, so you tell yourself, I shouldn't feel stressed. Nothing is wrong. But inside, there's a low-level tension, a sense of never fully committing, never fully resting, never feeling done. This is what I call existential background anxiety. It's not loud. It whispers. It says, you could be doing more. You might be wasting time. What if this isn't the best use of your life? And because it's subtle, you blame yourself instead of recognizing the pattern. Here's a shift that changes everything. You don't need fewer interests. You need fewer active identities. An interest is something you're curious about. An identity is something you feel responsible for. Anxiety spikes when every interest becomes an obligation. When curiosity turns into, I should be pursuing this, I'm behind in this, I'm failing at this. So the goal is not to suppress interests, it's to deactivate obligation. This is simple, but powerful. Your brain hates losing ideas, so it keeps them active, which creates anxiety. Instead, you create a psychological parking lot. Here's how. Take a notebook or digital document. Title it, Not Now, but Not Never. Every time an interest pops up, you write it down there. The key is the promise. I am not abandoning this. I am postponing it intentionally. This calms the nervous system, because anxiety often comes from fear of forgetting yourself. Most people think identity is permanent. It's not. You can have seasonal identities. For example, this year, you are primarily a learner. This season, you are a builder. This quarter, you are a stabilizer. You're not choosing who you are forever. You're choosing who you are for now. That shift alone reduces pressure dramatically, because now your brain isn't asking, is this my life? It's asking, is this right for this season? Much easier. Here's a metaphor. Instead of seeing your interests as separate paths, see them as streams feeding one river. Ask, what's the common thread? What do these interests serve? For example, psychology plus writing plus coaching equals understanding humans. Design plus systems plus business equals problem solving. Curiosity plus empathy plus learning equals meaning making. When interests feel unified, anxiety drops, because your mind senses coherence instead of fragmentation. Let's be clear about a few things. If you have ADHD, your brain seeks novelty naturally. Structure must be flexible, not rigid. If you're highly sensitive, you absorb more input. Your nervous system needs intentional downshifting. If you're burnt out, your anxiety may be exhaustion wearing a clever disguise. This video is not a diagnosis. It's a framework. Be gentle with yourself. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not scattered. You are responsive. You notice complexity. You feel possibility. You care deeply about how you spend your life. That's not a flaw. but it requires a different operating system. A multi-interest mind needs permission to pause, containers, not cages, direction, not restriction. Let's summarize. If you have many interests and feel anxious, your brain is overloaded, not broken. Your anxiety is about meaning, not discipline. You don't need fewer passions. You need clearer boundaries. You are not late. You are not wasting your life. You are someone learning how to hold depth without drowning in it. Take a breath. You're allowed to be complex, and you're allowed to choose slowly.